Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this live stream. It feels like we're doing a live stream marathon right now. But I just 1 second. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're in the house. We got 6 in the house at the moment. So, guys, first thing I want to go over, which you'll find incredibly interesting, is let's talk a little bit about Jagmeet and the NDP, because obviously the NDP is supporting this motion. So let's talk about Jagmeet and his association with the World Economic Forum, because it's going to blow your mind. I'm telling you, he is part of the World Economic Forum, exactly like Freeland and Trudeau. And this isn't a tinfoil hat; it's right on their website. So we're going to get to it here. Where is it? Here it is. All right. So here we have the Forum of Young Global Leaders shaping the future of socialism. Now, if you ever want a list of people not to vote for, you can go to this website. In fact, I can even post it in the chat. How about that? So if you ever want to go to the website and find out what leaders not to vote for, you can do that. So anyway, guys, look who is on here. 2018, he is voted one of the young global leaders. And if we scroll down, because you're probably thinking, well, the Forum of the Young Global Leaders, that's not the World Economic Forum. Scroll down right here. The Forum of Young Global Leaders is an initiative of the World Economic Forum. So there you have it. That's Jagmeet's association right on their website. So he's for the same BS agenda as Freeland, Trudeau, and all these elitist type people. So it now makes more sense after you see this that he is gonna vote this through. So let's go over to the Toronto Star, which is known as a paper for supporting Trudeau, and we'll go through it on both sides of the story. At the end of the day, guys, we have to look at both sides of the story. We can't just be biased, as I always say. So let's flip over to this. Okay. Emergency Act declaration to clear first hurdle with House vote tonight. NDP leader Jagmeet from the World Economic Forum offers support but says we should never have gotten to this point. I mean, he's just playing political games. And the funny thing is, this is Canada. Like, they're all playing political games. So it's Trent enjoying some sun and family time on Vancouver Island. Time for dinner soon. Yeah, because you're 5 o'clock over there. So yeah, you're not far away. So yeah, it's very, very the fringe minority. It's very cold and snowy here in Alberta. Yeah, it's still snowing right now out there, and there is a lot of snow out there. There is a lot. So we should have never gotten to this point, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh told reporters Monday afternoon, confirming that his party still reluctantly, implies that he doesn't want to, the wording's so stupid, backs the government's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act. For the first time in history, I mean, what was it? Parliament was stormed by gunmen, 9/11, all the flights grounded, all these different things we managed to get through without invoking the Emergencies Act. And then a protest that had been there for over 3 weeks is suddenly trying to overthrow the government and everything like that. It's just absolutely insane, guys. So moving on, Singh reiterated that the NDP will pull its support as soon as it deems the act no longer necessary. Well, it already is no longer necessary, so that's kind of hilarious. And if you haven't seen any of the videos coming out of Ottawa, then basically you should watch some of the video. It looks like a police state, and the police are intimidating the locals now. So it's gone from, apparently, allegedly, the protesters were antagonizing all the locals to now the police doing it, the state doing it. God. The successful passage of the motion in the House is the first hurdle for the government being able to keep the declaration in effect. The Senate must also vote to confirm the motion, with debate beginning in the upper chamber Monday afternoon. So that must be good right now. If the motion fails in the Senate, the declaration must be revoked immediately. And guys, if you get a notification or anything that it's passed, let us know in the chat, and I'll do my best to keep an eye out so we can put it on the main screen, because they're voting on it right now. So it should be coming through within the next 5 to 10 minutes, which is a real sad point in Canada's history right now. Anyways. While the streets of Ottawa have now been largely cleared of the protesters, trucks that clogged up streets for weeks and points of entry across the country remain open for trade and travel. Well, not really, because they've created a red zone in Ottawa. So again, Ottawa is not open at all. It's even worse than it was before. The NDP and Liberal government said the act remains needed for now. They've given no excuse. And this is the thing that really frustrates me, is they've given no excuse for why they need this to continue. They just keep saying, well, they might come back. I mean, the thing is, they've done no damage at all. From what I've seen anyway, and I've looked on both sides of the story, like we're looking right now, and maybe a few bags of garbage or whatever. But considering the amount of people that were there, they were clearing the snow. They were looking after the war memorials, and then they fenced them all off. Because they've got to make these people out to be monsters, guys. They are the monsters, and we need this in place. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to fall for this. They're going to think this is great. And to me, it's not a case of whether you support the truckers or you don't support the truckers. This is a case of whether it is right to use this act to do this. Because if they use this act for this, what is going to stop them in the future using the act for something else, be it climate related or Cerveza related, whatever it is? Anytime that people don't agree with their views, they could do this. And it's so disheartening that the NDP are, again, this corrupted party by the World Economic Forum. And it's so disheartening because it's just political games to them. They don't want an election. They knew if they had an election right now, they would lose, and it would be miserable for them. So they don't want to hold it. They want to hold the election when the most chance for them is to win. And people laugh and say, well, we're a parliamentary democracy, and we are a democracy by definition, but we don't live in a perfect world, guys. That's the thing. It's just not a perfect world. It's not a level playing field for all parties. You've got to be kidding me. But anyway, politics aside, let's carry on with this. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. And I'm sure you don't want to be here all night. Singh pointed to police reports that protesters remain in the vicinity of Ottawa. He also said that the financial powers granted under the act to freeze accounts related to the protests remain necessary for the time being. Yeah, I mean, anytime, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a great power for cutting off funds. I mean, it's like we discussed last night. If you've got a civil war, then yeah, that would be, you'd be wanting to use powers like this. It would make perfect sense. But again, like he's pointing to the fact the protesters are remaining in the vicinity of Ottawa. Well, they've cut off their bank accounts. So how on earth are they going to get anywhere? They're not going to get very far, are they? If they can't use their bank accounts, if all their cards have been frozen. I mean, it's essentially, and as you'll see from the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it is just so wrong, so wrong on so many levels, and that's why the Civil Liberties group or whatever is suing the federal government. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Monday morning that the government never wanted to invoke the act. Yeah, right. But also gave no clear indication as to when the government will revoke it again, saying the situation remains fragile across the country. So he's just been very vague there. He's just been extremely vague. So how do they get away with this? I don't know. But it is just so vague. So, but anyway, let's continue. You can, oh yeah, I saw this video actually of Trudeau. You can disagree with elected officials and you can definitely disagree with me, but you can't harass your fellow Canadians who disagree with you. You can't hold the city hostage. That's exactly what he's doing. I mean, for crying out loud, it's like they literally describe what they're doing, disagreeing with fellow Canadians. They're holding a city hostage right now. You know, this is exactly what they're doing. And I think it's smart in some ways because a lot of people don't think critically. They can't think for themselves. So they're spoon-fed all this nonsense all the time. And they just accept, oh, right, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because who's going to disagree with that statement? But you can't harass your fellow Canadians who disagree with you. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. But that's exactly what he's saying. And yeah, Jacob, right on. Do as I say, not as I do. That's exactly what this is. It's do as I say, not as I do. You can't block a critical trade corridor and deprive people of their jobs. They could have gone to their jobs, but they work for the government, most of them. I mean, I've been to Ottawa. Anybody who's been to Ottawa knows it's mostly a government town, especially downtown. Most of the real estate is government. So, yeah, I mean, the government can easily make it out like, oh, yeah, you're depriving the businesses. Different businesses did open and they had good business. So it's each to their own. And like with any protest, you're going to get people who are extreme views, which are usually a tiny minority, which is where people like the Toronto Star, that's who they focus on. And then there's going to be the majority of people that are peaceful protesters. We saw the same thing at BLM. We saw the same thing here. You're always going to get extremes and they're always going to be a small minority. But the difference is with the BLM, they focused on the main part, which was peaceful. And in this protest, they wrongly focused on the tiny minority of people and tried to make them out to be really bad. It's just not really on. So although the Emergency Act was invoked by the federal government last Monday, the law requires that both the House of Commons and Senate vote on the motions to confirm that decision. The House is set to vote Monday evening at 8 p.m. after several days of a marathon debates that run from 7 a.m. to midnight. The thing is, and the reason why this act is meant to be like you can start immediately doing what you need to do without Parliament or the Senate support, like they've done. The reason it's like that is because in a civil war, you wouldn't have time to react. But are you telling me that between last week and today, they would have overthrown the government? Like there was a real threat that they were going to overthrow the government. I mean, it's so pure fantasy. And they may be, maybe they do really believe that, but I highly doubt it. It's just showmanship. Trudeau's minority government requires the support of at least one other party, in this case, the NDP, to ensure the motion passes the House. And this part is key, the part which I've highlighted in blue. While Trudeau declined to say whether the vote was a matter of confidence in his government, Singh said, "We've always recognized that it is a confidence vote." So there you go. He is literally saying, yeah, we recognize that this is a vote of no confidence. So of course they don't want that to happen. They don't want it to go ahead. So it's not about your constituents. It's not about democracy. It's just about political gain. How can we keep ourselves in power? How can we cling on to this little string of power? And that's what really angers me and frustrates me about this whole thing, is because it's all political and it's not about Canadians. It's not about your constituents. It's all political gain and just weak politicians grasping on to the last ounce of power that they can most possibly do. So anyway, let's carry on here. So in other words, the motion failed. In other words, if the motion failed, the government would fall. But Singh said the party's reason for supporting the act is based on the threat and the importance of protecting Canadians. Well, we know that's a load of BS, don't we, guys? So enough said about that. The scene on the streets of Ottawa Monday was far different than the previous 3 weeks, with police having successfully cleared protesters and their trucks in an operation over the weekend. Yeah, and it was quite a violent operation, might I add. And now they've got like a red zone, which is cornered off, and it's like a police state if you've seen some of the videos from down there after the aftermath of this. So yeah, Klaus is so proud. Yeah, he is. Amid criticism that the declaration was an overreach by the federal government, cabinet ministers have insisted that tools, again, let's just substitute that word for what they're really talking about, which is powers. So let's say that again. Amid criticism that the declaration was an overreach by the federal government, cabinet ministers have insisted that powers in the Emergency Act have been useful to police. Again, they're trying to dumb it down for people so it doesn't sound as bad as it is. So it's just like, oh, don't worry about this. It's not a big deal. Just don't worry about it. Don't look over here while we're just taking away all your rights and creating loads of propaganda. Just look over there. It's a tool, like a screwdriver. I mean, no, it's a power grab. So anyway, these have included the ability to compel the removal of vehicles by tow trucks, the identification of no-go zones to clear crowds, as well as financial measures such as freezing bank accounts related to the convoy protesters. I mean, isn't it funny, guys, when we really think about this, that the protesters, I mean, like they were saying that they're in the vicinity and that's what the threat is, okay? And I was saying, hey, you froze their bank accounts. Where the hell are they going to go? They've got no money. They've got no access to money. What are they going to do? Again, this was done by who? The government. It's just like Friday. Why did Parliament have to be suspended? Because the high police presence, because of the government, because they knew they were going to be antagonizing people and trying to get a reaction. And they didn't want people to be near that because there could have well been a lot of violence, but there wasn't. And that's really, and nobody is talking about that. So, yeah, Gloria, I totally agree. That is scary. I mean, Trent, I totally agree. And Gloria, I agree with this. We should know in about 30 minutes to 1 hour if we will be an emergency act indefinitely, which will bring in the social scoring. Things are about to change completely. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I was thinking about this earlier, guys, and this is just like a sort of thought. Imagine credit scores before credit scores were brought in. Do you not think that people were kind of wary about that? And there was probably a group of people that was saying, no, we don't want credit scores, because then you're victimizing people who don't make their payments, and it might be for no fault of their own, whatever. But the credit scores, they came in. And then there'll be social scores, and there'll be climate scores, I'm surely down the road. I hope they're not right around the corner, though. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff which we'll go through as well about different things. I'm watching Parliament now. They are voting as we type. Gloria, let us know as soon as you find out so I can put it on the screen, and we'll continue whizzing through this whilst it's going to go through, so it's going to be no surprise. And also they used their new powers to order the tow trucks to go and clear these heavy vehicles. And the reason why they needed to order them was because they didn't want to do it. They were exercising their freedom of choice, and they didn't want to be involved with this. They didn't want to do it. So again, they are using this act not for the reason it was designed, and I hope that's clear, which was a real threat of a civil war. And once you use an act for something that it's not meant for, what is going to stop you using it again for something else? Every time somebody doesn't agree with you, let's say it's inflation, let's say everybody takes to the streets about inflation. It could be housing, it could be anything. And there could be protests, and then he comes out and does this again. If you're on the other side of this and you don't agree with this, you just really have to think, well, I hope you don't have to protest someday, because if they don't agree with what you're protesting about, they're going to freeze your bank account and take away your freedom. They might even throw you in jail if you're unlucky. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association, which is challenging the government's use of the federal court, the use of the act, in the federal court, called on the government on Monday to immediately revoke its declaration of emergency, given that the blockades in Ottawa and elsewhere have now ended. Exactly true. There we go. It passed. So it's, sad moment there for Canada, but I think it was a given considering NDP and how they're connected with the World Economic Forum. So thus we begin the slippery slope that we're on. And we're just going to switch over to Rebel News now. And you can see there's a total difference in reporting. Addressing the matter, Trudeau said that the Emergency Act would not stay in effect a single day longer than is required, but that he intends to keep it in place for now amid concerns that protesters and trucks could be regrouping for a return to Ottawa. Well, that could go on forever. He could literally say, because it's so vague. There's no way of measuring that. It's just so vague. The powers will remain in effect until mid-March, which is absolutely insane. That's a long time, unless rescinded earlier by the government or by Parliament. The state of emergency is not over, said Trudeau. There continues to be real concerns about the coming days. He is just, again, trying to make them out, demonize them. but we will continue to evaluate every single day whether or not it is the time, said the Prime Minister during a press conference on Monday, calling the use of the act necessary, but not something we ever want to see again. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, just insanity. So let's go over to here. And this article was sent to. Okay, so Gloria's confirming it. It is official. I'm sorry to inform you of this. Well, you know what? Don't be sorry. It's not your fault. And at the end of the day, we knew this was going to happen. There was no way that the NDP was actually going to have a backbone and stand up for the rights and freedoms of Canadians. But anyway, it's just a sad moment now because who knows what this means for freedom going forward? Who knows? Well, I think we do know. And free speech and the censorship bill and all that sort of stuff. And now, yeah, I mean, just insane. So some of the photos, Canada does not want you to see itself this way. I thought it really just shows you, you know, again, like police officers with machine guns aimed at people. It's just Ottawa police have not covered themselves in glory here, but what they are doing is not a gunpoint. Who is behind the New York Times false reporting? Officer entering a trucker's structure, rifle raised, you know, treating them like they're criminals, treating them like they're terrorists. That's exactly what the media wants to portray them as. Terrorists who believe in unity and freedom. It is just insane. So, and look at this. So, this is them spraying the protesters and the struggle. You know, it always makes me laugh when these photos are kind of out of focus. And as I said, with that video which we watched, I think it was yesterday, when they were shaking the camera, it just kind of adds to that effect, that drama. So, but yeah, here's some more of the photos. SIU investigating reported serious injury of a woman in an interaction with a police horse, less lethal firearm discharges at Ottawa demonstrations. Yeah, so just insanity, really. So let's get rid of some of these tabs. And then we'll head over to the head. Oh, no, yeah, the World Economic Forum. Here we go. So Christina Freeland is on the World Economic Forum. The Honorable Chrystia Freeland is Canada's, God, I've been saying her name wrong the whole time. It's Chrystia, not Christian. Oh, well, is Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Miss Freeland was first elected as the Member of Parliament for Toronto Centre in July 2013. Yeah, so George went through this today, which I thought was really just funny because it's true. So you would expect she would have a degree or a master's in economics or an MBA or whatever, a doctorate, whatever you would think. But no, she is a journalist. So that and Trudeau is a drama teacher. And this just goes to show you just where the country's heading, essentially. During this time, she was a leading advocate for democracy, human rights, and multilateralism around the world. That's not a word I've ever come across before, but this is the World Economic Forum, Davos types. They like to speak in language that we might not necessarily understand, or I might not necessarily. Miss Freeland was appointed Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs In this capacity, she led Canada's united response to the Cerveza sickness. Canada's united response. Yeah, right. Okay. She was appointed Minister of Finance in August 2020, an esteemed journalist and author. The Deputy Prime Minister was born in Peace River, Alberta. She was educated at Harvard University before continuing her studies on a Rhodes Scholarship at the University of Oxford. After launching her career in journalism as a Ukraine-based freelance correspondent for the Financial Times, the Washington Post, the Economist, Miss Freeland went on to various roles at the Financial Times of London. Then she served as deputy editor of the Toronto-based Globe and Mail, and before returning to the Financial Times as deputy editor and then United States managing director in 2010, she joined the Canadian-owned Thomson Reuters. So again, this is just hilarious, isn't it? Because she is literally a journalist. Like, that's what it says right here. She's a journalist. She worked for The Economist, The Washington Post, Financial Times, the Globe and Mail, all lefty-wing newspapers, and Thomson Reuters. I mean, they have been caught many, many times falsely reporting things on large scales. In 2018, deputy, and I suppose it means because she's been for a financial media newspaper like the Financial Times, she could run the finance department because she's a journalist. I mean, she wrote the news, and we know how trustworthy that is. We know how good the news is. And yeah, so that must mean she's great for Minister of Finance of Canada. In 2018, the Deputy Prime Minister was recognized as Foreign Policy Diplomat of the Year. What kind of title? She was also awarded the Eric M. Warburg Award for Atlantic Brook for her achievements in strengthening transatlantic ties. In 2020, she was awarded Freedom House Mark Palmer Prize in recognition for her year's work in championing democracy and human rights. She's a member of the Forum's Board of Trustees. Do you see that there, guys? Let me highlight it in blue for you. She is a member of the Board of Trustees. And the thing is, guys, this is a private organization. This is a private organization that nobody voted for, and they have interests. They have said that they're penetrating the cabinet. I mean, to use their words. So I find it absolutely insane that she is. How can you say she isn't corrupt when she is obviously supporting the interests of a private organization? And I mean, the fact is, we say we have a democracy, but then you start to poke around a bit. You see that these people are involved in the Davos thing. You see that Canada Pension Plan has 10 million shares of Pfizer on their books. And you're just like, okay, you're trying to tell me that the government's not corrupt, or at the very least that they don't have an interest in making sure Pfizer is okay, and we buy lots of Pfizer magic potion, to put it one way or another. But anyway, and also, guess who else is on the website? It's your boy Jagmeet Singh. So he's also on there. So that made him determined to be himself. That's why he grew to defend the rights of others, to be seen and heard for themselves. I highlighted that because it really, really hits home what he's not doing today. And Jagmeet went to law school to stack his toolbox. You notice the wording, guys, here. Have you noticed any similarity of the wording here? His toolbox. And they keep saying tools. We're going to use these tools. And what they really mean is his power box to fight the powerful forces of poverty and racism. Because last time I checked, you do not fight a war with a screwdriver. You fight it with power and weapons. So Jagmeet decided to run for office because too many government choices were hurting people like Justin Trudeau rather than helping them get ahead. Like the NDP are really going to champion that. They are just another political party that champions division, and that is what they want. And you just have to look at South Africa if you want to look at what's to come in America and Canada, because that's where the politics is heading towards. As an MPP, Jagmeet took on auto insurance companies to end the exploitation of people. I mean, he obviously didn't do a very good job if he took them on in BC, because, I mean, the auto insurance companies in BC are the government, and it's incredibly expensive, one of the most expensive places in Canada. He fought for fair coverage at a fair price. Okay, where is fair price? Canada is, again, we're not going to get into that, but but yeah, you just see. So let's go on to now. I thought I had somewhere. Oh, here we go. So let's go. Pierre didn't vote, and I'm sorry, there's something fishy about him. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, no matter how good Pierre is and everything like that, once he gets into a position of power, he's just going to be as corrupted as everything else, because they have so many different corporate alliances and alliances to the global elite. It is impossible to ignore. So, yeah, I mean, any of these politicians, I think out of the worst, the best of the worst of them is probably having a conservative minority government or a conservative government. But I mean, that's the best of the worst. I'm not saying that that would be a good thing by any stretch of the imagination, but the PPC are never going to get in. And I don't know much about the PPC, to be honest. I haven't researched them because there isn't much point, because they're never going to be anything or become anything, because the power is concentrated within this 2 or maybe extend it to 3 and 4 parties with the Bloc and the NDP party system. So here we go. Canada moves to make asset freezing under Emergencies Act permanent. I mean, if it couldn't get any worse, it is. Wow, who saw that one coming? In order to stop what the Trudeau regime, I love how they're referring to it as a regime now, that's fantastic, referred to as illegal blockades in quotation marks. The government threatened to freeze the bank accounts of demonstrators and anyone who donated money to them. Under the Emergencies Act, banks are required to freeze accounts without a court order, while all crowdfunding platforms and payment providers are mandated to provide information to FinTrack, which is hilarious because Canada is well known around the world for money laundering. And here you have them directing them to use FinTrack, whereas FinTrack, I think there was a recent report that came out recently about how FinTrack had done like a third of the investigations they should have done in 2020. But anyway, what concerns me about this is, again, under the powers of this act, what's going to happen to the money? What's going to happen to the money that was donated and meant to go towards those truckers? Is the government going to seize that money and then they're going to say, oh, we're using that money to cover the cost of the occupation? That's probably what's going to happen, just like the city of Ottawa is saying, we're going to seize your trucks and sell them off. We're going to take your property away and sell them off. And you may be on the side of some people that's saying, yeah, good, do that to the truckers. But what they don't realize is one day it will be them. It will be them. They'll be taking their house away. And by then, it will be too late because they never stood up for their own freedoms. And believe me, guys, who knows? In 10 years, it could be racist to own property in Canada. So all property has to come under the ownership of financial institutions or the government, even worse. And they say, hey, this is for your own good, because let's say there's massive housing market meltdown, and I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on too much. And I'm not saying that this, I think this is a very low probability scenario. I just want to make that clear. But still, the probabilities are getting higher because of things like this. But imagine there's a crash and then the government says, actually, you know what? We'll bail you all out, but we're taking ownership of all the property. And the great thing is, guys, about this, by surrendering your property to us, we will let you have it when you're ready to retire, and then you can live there rent free. However, they tell you when you retire, which could be past your expiry date. So it's just, you can see how this can get really onto a slippery slope. And I'm just really throwing thoughts out there. I think that's still a relatively low probability in Canada of that happening. But this is what this sort of thing you are, if you let this slip by without any protest about it, that's what you're leaving the open door for in the future. So in order to oh yeah, we've done that. So and then we've got Ezra Levant, Rebel News. Again, like Rebel News being used a lot because they're the only ones that report fairly. And then we've got, oh, here we go again, guys, tools. We used all the powers that we had prior to the invocation of the Emergency Act, and we determined we needed some additional powers. I don't know why they keep calling them tools. And let's go back to this website again. Where was it? Was it on the World Economic Forum, Christina Freeland? Let's have a look. Or no, it was Jagmeet. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so let me just quickly bring you over to here. World Economic Forum. Law school to stack his toolbox to fight the powerful forces of poverty and racism. Okay, we'll go back to that other article now. I've got so many tabs open. And look at all of them using the same language. They can't even think of other words. They just, it's just all the same language. Build back better, tools. Oh, God. I can almost complete Justin Trudeau's sentences because it's the same script. It's the same dialogue. And if you've ever watched any of these politicians in the House, it's incredibly frustrating because you're sat there watching them. Somebody asks a question, they don't respond. They just respond with another question or a statement which is completely off topic. There should be some rule in our democracy, in quotation marks, that when you're asked a question in the House of Parliament, you have to answer the question. And there should be a call to order immediately by the speaker or whoever, the opposition or the other side, saying, hang on, he's not answering the question. And then the speaker has to redo it or whatever. But the way they do it right now is just so ridiculous. They waste so much time, which is obviously what they want to do. But some of these tools, again, we will be putting forward measures to put those tools permanently in place. The authorities of FinTrack, I believe, do need to be expanded to cover crowdsourcing platforms and payment platforms, she added. Ronald Reagan has been proven right again. Nothing lasts longer than a temporary government program. There you go. So they're putting these tools, these powers in place permanently. So they're not going away in mid-March, guys. They are not going away. Meanwhile, as we've previously highlighted, such measures are likely to exclude protected classes, basically anybody who isn't a native Canadian or white, with groups such as immigrants and refugees enjoying exemption. Again, this is racist. They are being racist in order to seem like they're not being racist, if that makes sense. That's exactly what they're doing. So just insane. So we've gone through that. We've done the community, the World Economic Forum. We've gone through that. So let's go over to the Constitution Act 1982 and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Let's bring that up. This is on the government's website. Now, first thing I want to point out, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and look what I highlighted. Date modified the 18th of February 2022, which was when they invoked the Emergencies Act. So no, it wasn't, but it was last week. It was the 15th, wasn't it, when they invoked the Emergency Act. So it's been modified, and I actually went on the Time Back Machine, the Way Back Machine, or whatever it is, where you can go and look at websites history, but there was nothing for this. So you won't find anything. We can't see what exactly was changed. And again, like, it may not be anything sinister. It may not be anything of note, but I just don't trust the government anymore, like a lot of people. So mobility rights. First thing I want to go over. Every citizen of Canada has the right to enter, remain in, and leave Canada. And they've done this through a back-ended way. People cannot... A certain minority, which is still millions of people who haven't got Professor Snape's magic potion, cannot leave the country because they require it to fly, to go on a train, and the US requires it to go across the border. So you can't get out. Yeah, they will say, oh yeah, you can leave because there's no law preventing you from leaving. So therefore, we haven't took your right to leave away, but we sort of have. And that's exactly what they've done. So there is millions of people in Canada right now who cannot leave. And that is just insane, to say the least. Absolutely insane. Other countries that do things like that, China, North Korea, Russia has been known to do things like that. Funnily enough, some of the people that Canada actually comes up and says, we don't like the way they run their regime. They are doing this. But anyway, so legal rights, arrest or detention. Everyone has the right on arrest or detention to be informed promptly of the reasons thereof, to retain and instruct counsel without delay, and to be informed of that right, and to have the validity of the detention determined by the way of whatever that is, to be released if the detention is not lawful. So we've seen with the videos that when they've been arresting people, they haven't been telling them why they're being arrested. So that's yet another strike against the charter where they breached it. But I guess this is another tool that they've got under the Emergencies Act. They can just arrest anybody they like. We don't like the look of you. We think you're going to the protest. Arrested. It doesn't matter. And that is like a police state, essentially. It is nuts. And then you've also got the equality rights, which again they've violated. every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to the equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination, and in particular, without discrimination based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, or mental or physical disability. I mean, again, they breached. That's just yet another breach of the charter, and I think that was it really that I wanted to highlight there. But yeah, it's just absolutely insane, guys, that we've got to a point like this in Canada. So I think there was only really a couple of last things that I wanted to go over. Just want to mention real quick that the Ninja is on here Thursday, 4:30 Mountain Time. So like 6:30, no, 5:30 Mountain Time, 4:30 Pacific, 6:30, 7:30 Eastern. Sorry, getting all my time zones messed up. So does the Charter of Rights mean nothing now? No province can sue? I'm not really sure. I guess they can. I think Alberta is launching a challenge against it. And I think a couple of, I think Saskatchewan was, if I remember right. But yeah, it does mean nothing now, essentially. The Emergency Act allows them to do whatever they want, pretty much. Because you have to remember, and this is what I keep trying to think, is you may think it's very extreme, and it is extreme for this situation because it was never meant for this situation. So the fact is, yeah, it's really extreme for this situation. But if you look at it in the context of, okay, this situation, if it was actually, I've completely lost the train of thought there. I've lost it. Never mind. Anyway, moving on. So I want to go on to this, which is really interesting because if you look at this, this is people searching leaving Canada. And actually, I thought I had something else on here. Or moving to USA, I think was the one, the search term. No, that wasn't it. There was a good, oh yeah, US visa, that was it. The amount of people who are searching for US visa, and you can see right now across Canada that this is exploding. It's going to new highs because this is the predicted area right here. And it's just gone parabolic essentially because people are literally looking and they're looking to leave Canada. This shows you what I've been talking about a lot, which is people are going to leave. There are a lot of people that are going to leave. And there was another search term as well that was even better. And I can't even remember. Was it how to move to the, no, it was short. What do people search for, guys, when they move to the US? Move to the US? No. Moving to US, maybe. I don't know. There was one that was, no, that's not it. What would people search for if they were moving to the US? Moving to USA. Not it. A lot of these searches, if they're not used a lot, they just look like this, where there's no, if you've actually got that smooth up and down, then you know you found something that people are searching for a lot. But I'm trying to move into the USA. See, if you look at some of these, move into the USA from Canada, breakout right now. So, I mean, literally, this was before the internet was widely available. And look at this, it's exploding. But again, I don't think this is an accurate one. But I had a really good one that was moving to the USA from Canada, moving from Canada to US. Yeah, I mean, that's not how to move from Canada to the US. Yeah, anyway, I found quite a good one that was earlier, and it just seemed the most how to move to the USA. Yeah, I think I tried that now. How to move to the USA. Yeah, so that's a good one, and that shows you. And it's interesting because Ontario and Alberta, which would make sense because people in Alberta, I would say they're most likely to leave because they're gonna be thinking like this is no place for us anymore, especially with what's going on with freedoms. Because even though a lot of people will say, "Well, Luke, they're getting rid of everything in Alberta, so everything's okay." Well, no, because it's all the same. It's just they say we're getting rid of it based off the hospital data, and then it comes back, and it's just until I just don't believe anything they say anymore. But it's absolutely insane, really. But I don't really think there was anything else apart from I made quite funny. Was it this? Was this Schwab one I found? Listen to the words. I found a clip of Charles Schwab from the World Economic Forum, and then I found a clip of. So if I show you this, hopefully you can hear it. I don't know how to play this.
We do not want to use the Emergencies Act.
The way to get your account unfrozen is to stop being part of the blockade and occupation.
So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action.
We do not want to use the Emergencies Act for a single moment longer than is necessary.
So, I mean, it's it's kind of funny if you listen to that language again. Like, just listen to the language, and it's
and occupation.
So we have to prepare.
The way to get your account unfrozen is to stop being part.
It's to stop. It's to basically stop going against the government. That's how you get your account unfrozen in Canada. Is you stop going against the government. That just what has it come to, guys? When it comes to this, it's just insane.
The way to get your account unfrozen is to stop being part of the blockade,
which is over.
Occupation.
So we have to prepare for a more angry world, and how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action.
We do not want to use the Emergencies Act for a single moment longer than is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's already gone over that. So when is that going to end? I mean, it should be stopped right now. And then I think this was another clip I found. Oh, yeah. Now, I want to say I don't endorse Trump because he is much of the same. Yeah, well, he's not as bad. Again, he's like Pierre in Canada, but he's still, at least he says, I guess, what he thinks. But it's not an endorsement for Trump, but you may find.
In the heat of the moment, we can all get carried away trying to win an argument. Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. Well, he's too fast.
And that was actually Trump talking about Trudeau. But the thing was, obviously, Trudeau said that to that lady in the House of Parliament, and she was actually Jewish. So it was just disgusting that he came out and said that. Did he apologize? No. Again, he was asked time and time again to apologize, and he didn't. He just kept banging on about the economy, the illegal blockades. We're trying to protect jobs. We're trying to help Canadians. I mean, I can literally, he's always saying the same thing. We will keep being there every step of the way for Canadians. Like this language, it's just on repeat with him. But he is just such a unbelievable character. And that's what I'm trying to do on my TikTok, is just get clips of him, mash them together with other clips, and really show what it's all about.
China is a significant challenge. China is a significant challenge, but so is the rise of authoritarian states. So are cyber attacks. Oh, you stupid son of a...
So, yeah, I mean, again, that was Trudeau saying back in December that we need to stop the rise of authoritarian states. And here we are in February. And yeah, we're here in February, guys. And he has turned Canada into an authoritarian state. So, yeah, I just don't. And we'll just go over this one last time, which is obviously the World Economic Forum, for those of you that joined us later on. Jagmeet Singh, here he is, young global leader. He's right here on the Forum of Young Global Leaders, shaping the future. Again, these are private entities, guys. These are private organizations that we did not vote for, that have political interests and corporate interests. And again, we go down here, look what it says: the World Economic Forum. The Forum of Young Global Leaders is an initiative of the World Economic Forum. So anyway, guys, is there anything else that you want to talk about tonight before we wrap up, or go through before I end the stream here? Throw it in the chat if you've got anything you want me to check out online here. And if not, then I will end the stream here. But yeah, I mean, absolutely insane, but another historic, a bad moment in history for Canada that we have here, where the Emergency Act has now gone through Parliament, as thank you, Gloria, and the other person who said that it went through. But yeah, it's gone through. So now it goes to the Senate. That's the next step. I'm going to have to look at how the Senate works. I'm not a big politics guy. I know in England, we have the House of Parliament and the House of Lords, and the House of Lords is just generally aristocrats, and they are not democratically elected people. So if it's anything like the House of Lords, there's no hope. But I don't really know if the Senate is something that Canadians actually vote people in for, or don't vote it in for. So yeah, just absolutely insane. You're all very quiet on the chat there. Nothing to talk about. Okay. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for being on this stream tonight, and take care of yourselves. I'm going to take a melatonin tablet, go to bed, because I slept terrible after the stream last night. Just really, this whole ordeal is just absolutely stressing me out to hell and back. Don't know if you talked about this, but what's the next? Don't know if you've talked about this, but what's next for the truckers in this movement? Are we done? Pretty much so, yeah. But I don't think this is the end. I really don't. And the reason I say that is because I think a lot of the unrest that we see today, and also the division that we see today, is to do with inflation. And funny thing is, guys, inflation was reported this week, but what was the news centered around? It wasn't centered around inflation. It was centered around the convoy. It was centered around the Emergency Act. So with high inflation, you get more social unrest. So I really think what we're going to see down the road is strikes. And that's essentially, you don't want to even go there, because this is what caused the collapse of the Weimar Republic, and the I forgot the name of the currency. I can't believe is it the Deutschmark, or I can't remember the name of the currency. But basically, if you look at the history, what happened with the Weimar Republic that was all because of strikes. Strikes were happening, and then the government said, you know what, we'll just print loads of money. It doesn't matter. Forget about the strikes. We'll just print more money. It'll all be good. And it ended up in hyperinflation. So I don't think this is the end. I mean, yes, it's the end for the trucker movement. Maybe, who knows? But I don't think this is the end. I think there's going to be lots more social unrest, lots more protesting. I think there's just such a distrust in the government because of what's happening with inflation, and people are worried. People have serious concerns. If inflation carries on, I mean, the damage that inflation has already done to the economy will become evident over the course of this year. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. But inflation is something that always causes social unrest. Back in the 70s as well, people were protesting, there were strikes, and I think we're going to end up going down that road, almost like a trip down memory lane. So yeah, I think there's going to be, and I think we've already seen, especially here in Calgary, crime has gone through the roof, especially break and enters. So crime is going up, which is always the case with inflation as people struggle to make ends meet. So unfortunately, it just gets worse from here. Hopefully that translates into more people waking up. I think that is happening. Yeah, I think the one good thing that we can look to from all this is the fact that people are looking and waking up, and they're going, hold on, they're telling me inflation is at 5%, and I'm looking at the cost of this has gone up 20%, 30%. You know, the amount we have less, that household income spend gap that we talked about in a previous whiteboard video. If you go look at that whiteboard video, I forget, it was the first whiteboard video that I did actually back in, I think it was early January. But if you go and look at that, it's the same thing. Like, people are looking at their budgets, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like I said about the fake news with the travel, they were putting out articles the other day saying all these travel airlines and travel providers, people like Sunwing, WestJet, Air Canada, they're all swamped because the government has just changed the test. That's all they've done for people who've took the Potion Masters cure. And and the thing is, okay, they've done that, but it's still a test. It's still a massive cost to undertake if there's a family of 4 or a family of 6. You know, it's still a huge cost. And the fact is, I've been looking at flights. We've been looking at, Panama. We want to get to Panama this year. We want to get to 2 places in Mexico. We want to scope out these places and decide which place we're going to settle permanently. And, the funny thing is, guys, back in 2019, 2020, the plan was always to have a place in the winter and leave in the winter and come back in the summer. But the plan was never to permanently leave Canada. But that's what this whole situation has just been, the writing on the wall. And that's my protest. My protest is boycotting Canada. And we can all do it. You just have to follow a passion, learn how to monetize that passion, I guess. I mean, I trade financial markets, and eventually when I'm at a point with my trading where I feel as though we'll be fine because trading, the income varies so much, then that's when we'll decide that, hey, it's time to go. But it could be anything, consulting work, or there is so many different options that people can do from a distance. And that's what I really hope a lot of you guys get into, because at the end of the day, even starting up YouTube channels. Now, I don't think YouTube channels ever become an income method unless you get like over 100,000 subscribers, then it could be. But that is a long, long road for a lot of people. I mean, people like myself who do this, we just do this because we have a passion for it. This is my way of giving back. And I want to help people. I want to enable people to live remotely and leave Canada and boycott this thing because it's just a Ponzi scheme. So Panama will be owned and controlled by China soon. Yeah, I mean, you have to, I guess, Panama, I don't think so, because it's the Panamanian people. They are never going to let that happen. That's never going to happen. Welcome to Afghanistan, courtesy of the Liberals. That would be a great video idea, Luke. What is next after the enactment of this in Canada? Yeah, I'll have to look that up. It could be a good video idea, Gloria. You're right. I just guess yeah, and who knows, guys? This channel might get shut down. I have no idea anymore. That's why I'm telling you guys to follow me on Rumble, because honestly, I have no idea anymore. Like, we are at a point in time where I have never been so worried about freedom of speech. I mean, freedom of speech is just being quashed right now in Canada. This emergency act is going to be in place until the end of the middle of March. They might say, oh, we need to censor all these people who are talking about freedom because they are terrorists, they are racist. And then they get Google to shut us all down. Because as you saw with CPP, Google is their biggest holding. Google. If you didn't see that one, go and watch yesterday's live stream. Because that's funny, because my phone just heard that and lit up. But Google is the Canada Pension Plan's biggest holding. So talk about a conflict of interest. They have definitely some power. Yeah, let me get a link to my Rumble. Here we go. There's 4 people I've got on Rumble. There's 44. Can we get 20 by tonight? I mean, they're so funny. There's like 1,400 people on this channel. Let's see if we can get 20 tonight on Rumble. I better delete all of my comments on YouTube. Yeah, you know, it's getting to a point now where I don't really know where we go. And Gloria, yeah, you're right, because you can grow your own food in Panama. That was one of the biggest things for us, and land is cheap there. And you don't need to buy a house. You can buy a piece of land and build a house very cheaply in Panama. There is a lot of land for sale that's cheap. And yeah, you can, it's not all really hot, humid places either, if you don't like that. Boquete is a massive expat community, and that's up in the mountains in Panama. And that's more of a temperate climate. I think it's around 25, 26 degrees all year round, kind of like San Diego sort of climate. So that's really good. But yeah, that's great. I should get people on here. I got to work out how to do that. And then we can actually have call-ins on this channel. I'm not sure I can do it without the paid version, but we'll see. So I'll look at that. And then, but yeah, I mean, this is what I want all of you guys to do, is just start thinking about what you can do. And Free Green Living Co. I mean, you got to check this guy out, because he's got some really fantastic ideas. And I think he's got a website. I think further up, he put the website. But anyway, pursue your passion, whatever that is, because that is what is going to get you up in the morning. That's what's going to get you doing these live streams at 7 o'clock at night in your own time. Whatever your passion is, just pursue that passion, because it shows. And integrity is so hard to find, especially on places like YouTube. I can't tell you how hard it is to find people with integrity. And it's funny, because the Ninja, he was one of those people that when I first started, well, still to this day, but when I first started following his channel, my jaw kind of dropped, because I was like, wow, this is a guy who actually has integrity. So, but yeah, anyway, guys, thank you so much for being on this stream and being with me tonight. Please hit that like button because more people will see this. The way YouTube works is the more likes a video gets, when people log into their homepage on YouTube, there is more of a chance of them seeing this stream that has happened. So hitting that like button really makes a difference. We don't just say it for the point of saying it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it at all because I hate saying it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you on the next stream. Sad day for Canada. Chin up. Let's do this. See you later.